Welcome to the webinar. Whether you're live or watching the playback, we're happy that you joined us. Today's title is Onboarding, the Key to Higher Team Retention. You've just landed the perfect new hire. We're going to discuss how the onboarding process can set this person and your clinic up for success. Onboarding, when done appropriately, takes time and is worth it. You never get a second chance at first impressions. When it comes to onboarding, the first impression should be the best one. A few housekeeping issues for those viewing the live session. Should already be off, but if not, please mute your phone and turn your video off. Use the chat feature for comments or questions, and they will be addressed either at the end of the program or in the follow-up email. In addition, notes will be sent along with the recording in the email to all who have signed up. Are you ready and excited for this fabulous webinar? Great, let's get started. Here are some fantastic articles that I've come across during my research. I'll let you read through these yourself, and I'll touch base with you in about 3 months to see how you're doing with the information. Wait, don't go. How do you feel? You just get to read articles on your own. Are you glad you signed up for this webinar? Probably not. Yet this may be the impression you're giving to your new hires. If this is what your onboarding experience looks like, just giving new employees reading materials, then don't be surprised when roughly 50% of your employees leave during the first 18 months of employment. If you promise them an experience in the job description or during the interview process, then don't deliver, it sets them up for a fast employment duration. Yes, I'm being a bit extreme to make a point, but critically evaluate how a new hire feels on the first day, the first week, and the first few months. If you'll allow me, let's start over, shall we? Welcome, and thank you for joining this webinar. I'm Denise Makita, and I graduated from Front Range Community College and have been a certified veterinary technician ever since. I've held a variety of jobs, with my latest being Catalyst Veterinary Professional Coaches. And yes, we just recently updated our name. The topics for this webinar include an introduction, why is onboarding important, what is onboarding, steps for onboarding, considering individual preferences. So insanity, it's doing the same thing and expecting different results. Is your current onboarding process the same as it was 10 years ago? Is it the same process no matter the position or person? Yet are you wanting a different result of increased retention? Stop the insanity and change your process. Onboarding, when done appropriately, takes time and is worth it. Time is a luxury many veterinary hospitals don't think they have when the hiring door is constantly revolving. However, have you stopped to think that the lack of appropriate onboarding may be the reason managers are constantly looking for team members? After all, you never get a second chance at first impressions. An immense amount of time and energy goes into the interview process. Don't let it go to waste by discouraging the new hire in the first few weeks. Onboarding at many veterinary clinics consists of filling out employment forms, getting a tour, and meeting whoever is walking by. Then the new hire is handed off to a colleague that may or may not even know the person was starting that day. Most animal hospitals drop new employees into their clinic and expect them to navigate their new environment with little to no guidance. Often joining a clinic or taking a new job means leaving a situation where something was not being fulfilled. This is a decision that is at first rational, but then ultimately becomes emotional. During the onboarding process, if the new hire is not feeling appreciated, supported, and properly trained, then your chances of retaining this employee diminishes. Another complication is that the workplaces can now have up to 5 generations of people. This emphasizes that there can no longer be a one-size-fits-all approach, and we must adapt. This can be a benefit and a curse. By recognizing and utilizing the skill sets of each group, it can be beneficial overall. However, this entails having a culture that embraces this model instead of creating animosity between generations. So why is the onboarding process so important? Well, let's look at some stats. Only 12% of employees strongly agree that their company does a great job onboarding. And turnover can be as much as 50% in the first 18 months of employment. On average, 17% of new hires leave in the first 3 months and up to 33% within 6 months. And 86% of people decide within the first 6 months of new employment whether they will stay or not. That doesn't give you a lot of time to onboard a new hire for longevity. In one study, the following information was from people polled who left within the first 6 months. 23% said receiving clear guidelines as to what my responsibilities were would have helped them stay on the job. 21% wanted more effective training. 17% said a friendly smile or a helpful coworker would have made all the difference. 9% wanted more attention from the manager and the coworkers. About a third said they barely had any onboarding or none at all. And 15% noted that the lack of effective onboarding process actually contributed to their decision to quit. In another report, companies with an onboarding program claimed higher rates in successful assimilation of new hires into culture, time to productivity ratios, and employee engagement. So Catalyst VetPC was curious to know if the veterinary community followed the same pattern. So we ran a poll in July of 2018, and these are a few of our results. 38% surveyed were paired with a trainer or contact person. Only 67% were actually introduced to all members of the veterinary team, and 57% had a formal orientation or training. And our guess is that this probably was only like a day or so. One respondent wrote in the comment sections, "I was told to read documents in the manager's file on the computer." Sound familiar? Basically, I had to figure it all out by myself, and this isn't the first time this has happened to me in a new job. I would love to actually be trained at a new position. When the basics for the job, let alone specific training schedules, are not provided, it's not surprising to see why people leave their jobs after a short time. No matter how many years of experience one has, all new staff members benefit from having an onboarding process with some type of orientation that is unique for the hospital and the position. So hopefully the previous information has convinced you that the onboarding is important. So what exactly does good onboarding look like? Well, there's a plethora of materials out there. Don't just focus on onboarding for veterinary professionals. Take the advice of many companies who do this for a living. You can tweak their onboarding ideas for your specific requirements. And this webinar is a combination of many different inputs. And yes, you will receive this list of resources in the follow-up email. The first and foremost goal of onboarding is the formation of a bond between the new hire and the company. If created, it greatly enhances the chances of the employee remaining loyal, which in turn creates a positive financial impact. So good onboarding provides socialization and professional support. It integrates people into the culture, the mission, the vision, the values. It provides feedback for all involved, both the new hires and the managers. It ensures that new employees fully understand their roles and how they relate to the organization's big picture operations. They learn what's expected and how to deliver it, and how and when they will be evaluated. From an employee perspective, onboarding involves a series of firsts: the first day on the job, the first time meeting a manager and coworkers, first projects and tasks, and first opportunities to share talents with their organization. From an employer perspective, onboarding is a great time to deliver on promises made during the interview process and solidify the culture of the organization. By instilling the mission and vision, it creates a bond, setting up productive employees. Onboarding is a great way to capture the momentum and the enthusiasm of the new hire, as well as invigorating the clinic as a whole. Starting a new job is exciting, and the training period should continue that momentum and fuel that initial excitement. When a new hire is thrown into work immediately without training or context, then it's a setup for a short employment period. A huge factor in setting up employee success is first understanding what you want the person to do. Before you even send out the job announcement, you first must have a clear picture of the position and how it interacts with your current structure. While there will be wiggle room based on the individual, the overall map should be in place so that the onboarding process can guide the person down this road. Another key factor is clinic culture. If you don't have a clear sense of your culture and be able to relay it during the onboarding process, new employees will see right through it, and it will be an uphill battle to keep them. Onboarding is a series of events, and when done properly, it may last several months to a year or more. That's because the goal is to help the employee understand day-to-day job success, as well as how the individual's work contributes to the overall success of the hospital, fulfilling the values, vision, and mission. To ensure the long-term success of teams, hiring personnel should create a personalized onboarding plan for each and every new employee. This is based on a combination of the position and the individual. Orientation, the first step in onboarding, is the welcoming event. This should begin before the new hire starts, and then usually lasts through the first day. So prior to the first day, send the new hire information on when and where to go, who to ask for, and what the person should wear. In addition, inform the rest of the team about who the contact person is on the team, when the new person is starting, and his or her name. It is embarrassing for team members to be introduced to a new person and they didn't even know you were hiring. The look of shock on an employee's face is not a good first impression for the new hire, and first impressions matter. So on day one, when the new hire arrives, the contact person should be available with undivided attention. The person who is most likely to be called away when the hit-by car comes in is not the best person for the initial contact. It's not a good impression. Then the new hire should not be scheduled for any type of work. There will be plenty of that in the future. It should be reserved for paperwork, introductions, orientation, and getting a feel for the environment. The contact person can also provide the keys, the codes, the passwords, and other standard operational procedures that will help make the new hire feel like part of the team right away. And most importantly, the new hire will have someone to eat lunch with on the first day. Finally, an overview should be provided as to what the person should expect during the complete onboarding process, which will take roughly 6 months or more. This includes aspects such as job expectations, objectives, the culture, phased training schedules, and mentor programs. During the first month, one of the key first steps is setting that new hire up with a mentor. Companies in general have found that mentoring programs improved company retention and job performance. Having someone specific working with the new employee helps build relationships and provides a resource person for the new hire when he or she has questions. Along with the technical exercises, include training on hospital policy. This includes aspects such as culture, organizational brand, and mission, vision, values. Setting up expectations, feedback mechanisms, and performance measurements will establish a foundation for continued achievement and career enhancement for team members. After that, a specific training protocol can be outlined and initiated. One method that may help is by developing SMART goals for the major components. In this way, both parties will have a clear expectation as to what will occur and deadlines to meet. And we will provide a copy of this sheet in the follow-up notes. So over the next 3 to 6 months, continue to check in on a regular basis. Make sure objectives, like the SMART goals, are being met appropriately. Identify if there are any difficulties and address as needed. Remember, there's still a 33% chance this person will still leave. As we know, learning is a continual process. Don't assume the new hire is 100% committed to your team after only 6 months. Continue to check in on a regular basis to ensure that everything promised in the interview process has come to fruition. Keep referring to the outline of expectations and objectives to ensure that everyone is still on the same path. And finally, don't forget about the rest of the staff. Resentment occurs when others are kept in the dark. If the rest of the team doesn't understand how this new hire fits into the overall picture, then there may be issues later. Make sure everyone is in the know, especially those coworkers that will work most closely with this person. Transparency and communication are especially important in the beginning of the process. However, it should continue throughout the new hire's first year as well. So our last area we're going to discuss is considering individual preferences. Onboarding, while addressing the culture of the clinic, should also be customized for both the position, such as the veterinarian, the technician, or the front staff, etc., and also the person. While superficially this seems overwhelming, we can start by generalizing based on their personality preferences and their experience. That's partly determined by age. Knowing personality preferences may aid the entire team in knowing how this person is going to act and react in situations. It may also help in understanding how they process information. For example, introverts may need some solitude to feel productive, where extroverts might enjoy chatting with coworkers. While you might not know the person's personality very well at the onset, once specific traits are recognized, the onboarding process can be adapted to better suit the individual. Another way to customize for the person is to consider generational differences. While you can't ask for an age during an interview, you can pretty well guess what group they might belong to. And when in doubt, ask. How do they prefer to learn, or what do they require to do their jobs? While there can be up to 5 generations in a clinic, we're only going to focus on the 3 main ones. So the first is the baby boomers. And in general, these people have been in the workforce for many years and have probably been through several onboarding processes. They prefer personalized communication and more autonomy on how they work. Measured results are helpful, but they want the freedom to take their own path in getting there. In short, lead by getting out of the way. So set up a strong program to monitor their progress, and then explain technology they will need to utilize to help them identify, and then help them identify people and resources to assist them. Next generation is Generation X. These professionals saw the age of personal computers, the internet, and single-parent households. They started the movement towards work-life balance, and they no longer value loyalty to a single company the way previous generations did. To contact with this audience, communicate directly, but give room for their input. This generation wants to know clearly what is going on and how they fit into the bigger picture, and they want to work independently to get there. Mentorship and coaching will probably help this population the most. It will allow them to jump into the projects a little quicker once they see a clear set of goals and expectations. And then the millennials. This is one of the most talked about groups, and with good reason. Within the next 2 years, 50% of the US workforce is expected to be made up of millennials. It will be 75% by 2030. Generally, they believe in success, have a desire for clear measurements of progress or failure, and they prefer direct, meaningful feedback. And their communication preference is through instant media such as texting. They have more of a multicultural mindset and are even more interested than Gen Xers in making a difference and adding value globally. They need to know that what they're doing matters and value work-life balance more than previous generations. One interesting component to this generation, they're adept at mentoring outside of their age group, and they can provide input and feedback to generations on either side of their own. Many understand their lack of experience and are looking for potential for skill developments, helpful feedback, and career growth. Traditional orientations and onboarding may not be as effective, and something closer to gamification and social experiences may be more compelling. Setting up a clear outline for implementation of projects, goals, key performance indicators, and check-ins with managers will be helpful to them. Make sure the managers also have the same tools in order to assist them. And as a bonus, let's take a quick peek at Generation Z. They are just coming into the workforce with a high-end age around 22. They seem to be an extension of millennials with even more focus on technology. After all, they are full-fledged digital and mobile technology natives. So how are you going to supply the new hire with the tools needed for success? Well, how they reach out for information depends on whether they're an introvert or an extrovert, a tech-savvy millennial or a boomer, etc. And how much does the clinic adjust versus having the new hire adjust to the clinic ways? Well, no matter their age, background, or personality traits, the culture of the organization is what connects everyone together. Regardless of communication styles, it's critical that managers as well as coworkers establish rapport with new hires. Scheduling regular one-on-ones or grabbing a quick cup of coffee will help establish trust and understanding among colleagues. Pair up a baby boomer with a millennial and send them to coffee together. By establishing a stronger personal tie, they will gain understanding from others' perspectives. And the goal overall is to discover assets in the other generation instead of just seeing differences. As a manager, discover individual strengths, then have those people with the desired skill sets teach others in the clinic. If each person's skills are enhanced and shared, the entire team wins. Now, this may seem really daunting in a veterinary hospital where you're busy to send people off for coffee, but in the long run, it will be worth it. So setting up and completing an intense and customized onboarding process seems daunting. It also means taking a hard look at the processes and culture in your veterinary hospital. Discover what is working and what's not working, then take steps to make it all great. While nothing is guaranteed, there are many benefits to a good onboarding experience. It sets your new employee up for success. You are providing the fundamentals that will not only offer required skill sets, but also the confidence for individuals to perform their duties and feel like they contribute to your culture. Consider that onboarding should be like pre-anesthetic blood work. You can still do surgery without it, but it sets you up for a better outcome. A solid, thoughtful, and intentional onboarding experience provide stability through increased job satisfaction and retention. With the amount of turnover seen in the veterinary industry, spending far more time in the beginning of a new hire's career may just extend the end time. And isn't keeping great people worth the extra time and energy? Good people leave great clinics for honorable reasons. Maybe a spouse transfer or moving to be closer to a sick family member. There's lots of reasons. However, by making a great first impression in the beginning, you minimize the chances of losing good people for reasons that you could have controlled. Onboarding, when done appropriately, takes time and is worth it. Keep remembering that it's all about first impressions and making ones that keep the new hire engaged and excited about the job from day one onward. Design a great onboarding process and stop the insanity of a one-size-fits-all approach. So this concludes this webinar. We do have another webinar coming up in August, Cracking the Code on Your Hospital's Employee Engagement. And if you haven't signed up, you can do so on the website homepage. Thank you for attending this live session or watching it back on demand. Catalyst Veterinary Professional Coaches offers a variety of services such as in-hospital or virtual workshops, coaching, and project support. For more information and details, visit our website at catalystvetpc.com or drop us an email at getcatalyst@catalystvetpc.com. Thank you, and wishing you great success in your onboarding experience.